Hi, my name is Ranajoy Basu. I'm a partner in the London office of McDermott Will Emery and head the UK impact finance practice within the firm as well. I wanted to speak to you about one of the most innovative and groundbreaking projects that the team and I have been involved in, called the Education Outcome Fund. We, as a firm, we jointly advised UNICEF and the Education Outcome Fund on setting up a platform, a global outcome fund to provide funding for education of children around the world, but specifically in Africa and the Middle East. This was a direct response not only to meet the demands of SDG 4, which is education for all, but also specifically targeting the severe education crisis facing children around the world today. If you think about it, the situations ranging from wartime destruction to the COVID-19 pandemic, which disrupts children's learning and can lead to higher levels of illiteracy and economic deterioration. To address acute global education needs, empower educators to deliver results and improve learning outcomes for children around the world, the Education Outcomes Fund was brought together and moved to operate as an independent trust fund hosted by the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF. The innovative partnership would be designed to provide an ambitious new mechanism for large-scale social financing focused on children's education around the world. To date, there has been no impact investment platform which has been set up with the ambition to reach as many, but also to reach children around the world at the scale of funding that is targeted through the Education Outcome Fund. To advise them on the design of the EOF's independent hosted partnership at UNICEF, the team needed legal counsel with deep knowledge and specialized experience in impact finance space, particularly given the nuances of the various different components of education, social impact, and finance. At the recommendation of the UN agencies, they turned to me and my team, also including Priya, Taneja, who's counsel, and we advised EOF and UNICEF in setting up a joint structure, which involved the complexities around alignment between the outcomes-based model in relation to EOF's underlying education program in various jurisdictions, and also confirming the contractual structure to the fund establishment within the composition of UNICEF. As a result of this important transaction, EOF now performs on a global fund platform operating as an independent trust fund hosted by UNICEF, who provide fund management, legal procurement, and administrative services to EOF. This was also a direct solution towards not just targeting impact financing at scale for education, but also creating an outcomes fund which would support and catalyze the development of impact bonds around the world. EOF's objectives were quite simple. They were aligned to and directly supported SDG 4. In 5 to 10 years, they would like to have accomplished their mission of improving the quality of free basic education for more than 10 million children globally and developing their skills for work. Within months of the Education Outcomes Fund launch, its 26.5 million program in Sierra Leone and 30 million program in Ghana had been fully financed. The vision had become a reality, and lives were being impacted in a positive way through the financing mechanism. UNICEF and EOF focus, drive, and desire to have a positive impact on children's education brought their objective directly in line with MWE's passion for applying their legal skills towards the greater good. As a finance lawyer and as someone who is extremely passionate about creating an impact through the work we do, it is extremely rewarding to have been part of a transaction which not only delivers financing for a much needed cause, such as education of children, but it does it in a way which sets the bar of how impact investment can be put together around the world to bring about positive social change. The MW team and I worked for more than a year and a half, actually, to create a finely balanced structure and close the transaction. The complexities was not just as a result of the funding itself, but also given the various nature of the institutions involved. Because the Education Outcome Fund followed a joint hosting model, with EOF becoming part of UNICEF once the transaction closed, the McDermott team needed to draft agreements that clearly and simply separated the role of UNICEF as the fund trustee from the role of Education Outcome Fund as the fund administrator. Despite anticipating a variety of complexities in crafting a deal that was clearly without being too rigid, the team also aimed to create a fund structure that could easily be replicated by any organization or many organizations for other impact finance applications in the future. They tackled three major issues in structuring this unique partnership. First, the team had to address the complex nature of the deal itself. To champion the cause of education children around the world, UNICEF and EOF hope to aggregate social impact investments, not just from traditional government sources, but also from sponsors in the private sector, a true blended mechanism. This blending of public and private finances raised a number of regulatory questions and challenges, which had to be dealt with not just through the documentation process, but also with the team and me involved through the structuring of the transaction as well. Secondly, expecting that cash would flow between the fund and sponsors around the world, the team sought multi-jurisdictional solutions for regulatory, tax, and charity law issues as they scale the structure for a global outcome fund. And finally, the team took into consideration the need for children's education in the remotest corners of the world. That is what lies in the heart of the transaction and the fund, which meant that the global structure also needed to be able to empower grassroots movements in hyperlocal areas where funding is required the most in some of the remotest areas around the world. We hope that this transaction will receive the interest, the attention, and the recognition it deserves, as it paves the way for innovative financing at scale to reach children in need of education. There hasn't been a more critical time for organizations like EOF to use outcome funding to empower education providers to think laterally, meet the challenges ahead, and contribute towards a sustainable solution for children's needs so that they can thrive. There really is nothing of this scale out there within the next 2 to 5 years that is so directly aligned to SDG 4 and that will change the lives of so many children, improving the quality of free basic education for more than 10 million children globally and developing skills for work. We also hope that this structure will have such an impact on the market that everyone watching this and its model can be used as a model for other impact innovations to target social impact as well. This will not only help grow the impact bond market as an outcome fund, it stands behind investors, hoping to achieve social impact through development impact bond mechanisms, but the education outcome fund model itself can be used to catalyze rapidly funding at scale towards other sustainable development goals as well. It's been an absolute pleasure to have had the opportunity to work on it. We as a team feel very lucky to have worked on such an innovative transaction, and having led the transaction, I feel very privileged to be in a position to have worked on it from the beginning and also have a great team behind this transaction lead to its successful execution.